I'm Steve Dangle, and you're listening to Stick to the Pod.
Hello and welcome to Stick to the Pod. Yes, hello everyone, I am back. It's been a while. So yes, the holiday was great. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and congratulations to the lucky couple who were married, which was the wedding I was at just after the New Year. So yes, it's been a very busy time personally, but yep, the hockey's not stopped. It's time to get back into it. It's episode 38, so let's just get cracked on. I'm not going to bore you with all the ins and outs of the games that have gone on in the past. I'll touch on a couple of talking points that we've had that I can remember off the top of my mind. I still have a few notes here and there. But we're going to jump straight into Division 2. We're going to run across the scores of what's happened over the last 4 weeks. We're not going to touch scorers. We're not going to touch shots on goal. We're just going to go straight into it, talk about the results, look at league tables, look at what's happened off the ice over the last couple of weeks, and signing news that's happened this week or as we speak. And we'll look ahead to a semi-final week in the Morley and Laidler Cup. We're going to jump straight into the Laidler Division, Division 2, Saturday the 14th of December. Yep, all the way back to then. And we're going to run through the scores. So on Saturday the 4th of December, we had the Altrincham Aces hosting the Kingston Sharks, with the Aces taking a 5-4 victory through the shootout. Also, Saturday, the 40th of December, the Deeside Ducks lose out by 1 goal to visitors Bradford Bulldogs. The Telford Tigers lose their first game of the season in the battle of the loser, the All Must Go, to the Sutton Sting, who take the points 3-1. Moving into Sunday the 15th of December, the Billingham Buccaneers take a 12-0 victory over the Deeside Ducks. On Saturday the 21st of December, the Billingham Buccaneers lose out at home to the Coventry NIHL Blaze from being 2-0 up. They lose that game 4-2. The Deeside Ducks lose out on home ice by 6-1 to the Altrincham Aces. Kingston Sharks lose to Sutton Sting, who maintain their 100% record 12-4. Moving on to Sunday the 22nd of December, the Bradford Bulldogs lose to Telford Tigers 9-3. Sutton maintain that 100% record, beating the Lions 9-2. Saturday the 4th of January, the Coventry NIHL Blaze continue that good form over the Billingham Buccaneers, taking a 4-0 victory. The Kingston Sharks hosted Lions 2 in overtime and lose out 8-7. Sunday the 5th of January, the Deeside Ducks home to the Altrincham Aces, and it's the visitors taking the points 4-2. Nottingham Lions 2 take on rival Sheffield Titans and take the game 9-1. Telford Tigers beat NIHL Blaze, who had 2 good victories over the Buccaneers. The Tigers take the game 3-1. Saturday the 11th of January, the Blaze are back to winning ways, taking the game 7-4 over the Bradford Bulldogs. Sutton Sting continue on their merry way with a 9-1 victory over the Sheffield Titans. The Altrincham Aces lose out on home ice to a firing Telford Tigers 16-2. Bradford Bulldogs on Sunday the 12th of January take the points against the Deeside Ducks 9-1. The Lions 2 continue their good form with a 6-3 victory over the Kingston Sharks. And the final game of the weekend in NIHL North 2 was between the Sheffield Titans and the Coventry Blaze, and the Blaze take that game 3-2. So we'll jump into their league tables and have a little look around. Obviously there was the big result between the Sting and the Tigers, and it's the Sting who are now clear away from the Tigers. Yes, they've played 2 games more, but they have that victory over the Tigers, so they do have that 3 points break. So just a quick run through. It's a Sutton Sting 20 out of 20 for 60 points. It's the Tigers 2, 18 games played with 51 points. The Buccaneers, after a bit of poor form, are still in third with 17 games played and 36 points. In fourth is the team that's beat the Buccaneers the last 2 times, and that's the Coventry Blaze, 17 games played as well, but still 4 points behind the Buccaneers on 32. Altrincham Aces in 5th, 19 games played on 29 points. Kingston Sharks in 6th on 20 points. Bradford Bulldogs 16 points in 7th. The final playoff spot belongs to the Lions 2, who are in good form at the moment, who have played 19 and on 11 points. Chasing them down is rival Sheffield Titans, who have 2 games in hand on the Lions and just 1 point behind with 10 points. and the D-side Ducks in their inaugural season are laying there in 10th position with 17 games played and 5 points on the board. And as it is Cup semi-final weekend as well, everything is ready for a couple of tasty games. It's the Sutton Sting hosting the Altrincham Aces, and it's the Telford Tigers hosting the Billingham Buccaneers this weekend. Two huge games, a lot of work to do for the Aces and the Buccaneers to cause huge upsets. But we know what this Buccaneers team can be like. We saw them in the playoffs last year. They can win these kind of games. These kind of games are their thing. But to be sure as well, Telford Tigers obviously got a lot of work to do in the league, chasing down the Sutton Sting. They'll certainly want to keep the silverware in the cupboard with the Laidler Cup. So a lot of work for the Buccaneers and the Aces to do to cause an upset, but certainly something can be done. Nothing really big happening in Division 2. Nothing to report. Obviously, we had the weekend of fixtures where hardly any games went ahead due to snow. So there is a couple of rearrangements, so we'll have to see how they pan out. But yeah, as I say, no real talking points from the Laidler. I'm just quickly looking through my notes. Yep, nothing really there. There is some big games and fixtures to come, and we'll just have a quick look now to see what does come this weekend in the Laidler division. So Saturday the 18th of January we have the Altrincham Aces. Oh sorry, it's the cup games, isn't it? You plank. So moving into the weekend after, I'm just trying to look to see what's coming. Oh yes, the weekend after. There it is. The weekend after. So not only do the Sting and Tigers have huge cup games this weekend, they do play each other the following weekend. As far as I'm aware, no other fixture has been put in place so far, but might have to just hang fire a little on that because rearranged fixtures could end up put on this weekend if ice time allows and there's no fixture clashing. So a big cup weekend for the Sting and the Tigers playing the Aces and the Buccaneers. But obviously they can't take their eyes off those teams this weekend, considering they do play each other next week. Moving then swiftly over to Division 1, the Morley Conference. So I was away on holiday by this point, and I can tell you, trying to listen or watch a game through Twitter updates and in a private group that we're in following the Stars games wasn't that relaxing. Yep, I was away, nice sunny holiday, bit of winter sun, trying to relax. But following the Stars in Nottingham was anything but. Big outcomes for this game as well, with it being for the Cup as well as the League. And Stars got news earlier that week of a face-off change. It'd been moved from 1 o'clock to 12 o'clock. And then, Nottingham have pulled tried to pull a dirty little trick here, trying to gain the advantage. It's not quite worked out for them. The ice time was never available from 12 o'clock. The ice time was actually booked out until 12, so warm-ups couldn't start until after 12, and I don't believe the game started until about 12:30, 12:40, so nowhere near the 12 o'clock face-off time that it was changed to as they recommended. I said it would, so I think the Lions tried to pull one there. It nearly paid out. The Lions do take a 2-goal lead against a team who was flying from the week before, beating the Hawks. But this team was battered, it was ill, it was light on numbers, but somehow managed to get the job done 3-2. Widnes also had a big weekend. They took on the Sheffield Scimitars in Sheffield and took the points in regulation for a 4-1 victory. Blackburn Hawks on the Sunday moved back into winning ways against rivals Widnes Wild to 7-1. It was a miserable weekend for the Sheffield Scimitars as local rivals Nottingham Lions beat them 8-1. The Solihull Barons hosted the Leeds Knights for the final game of the weekend. Barons beating the Knights 15-3. Moving on to Saturday the 21st of December. I was pretty much back in the colds of the UK at this point. And on the Saturday in Hull, the Jets lose out 10-5 to Blackburn Hawks. And also on the Saturday, the Widnes Wild hosted rivals D-side Dragons, losing out 10-4. Moving into Sunday the 22nd of December, just before Christmas. A trip to Cape Verde came back to a nice little trip to North Wales and the D-side Dragons. It's great to see a packed house there. Wasn't great to see Mr. Ryder on the game. Stars have got history with this bloke. Yep, we know we can't have a game without them, but they can just this official can just fuck off in my eyes. Not good enough. Not close to being anywhere near good enough for a Morley division. Probably not even good enough for the Laidler division. I've heard teams and crowds whinge about this guy up and down the country. But he should be nowhere near a game in NIHL North 1, that's for sure. Anyway, that's enough about Ryder. This was a great, stellar performance by the Billingham Stars. They took the game 6-4, pretty much guaranteeing top spot as well in the Cup, as it was a League and Cup game. Fantastic performance. Netminder Mark Turnbull was in net for the Stars, and he just played out of his skin from start to finish. As did the lads on the ice. They put in a shift. They did their job. They knew there was going to be nothing pretty about this game. It was very workmanlike, business-like. Get in, get the job done, get the points, and get out of there. And that's exactly what the Stars did on this occasion with a huge 6-4 victory. Moving on to Solihull Barons, they hosted the Nottingham Lions, taking the game 11-3. Amidst their own injury issues at the time. I know they were obviously lost. They lost Phil Mackay. Lav, who's a big listener. Hi Lav, we'll say hello before he gets a bit upset and spits the dummy out. Obviously injured at this time as well. The Barons take the game 11-3 over the Nottingham Lions. And the final game before Christmas, the Christmas break, the Widnes Wild on home ice, the Sheffield Scimitars absolutely tonk the Skims 12-4 and give the league a bit of a standout result. I don't think anyone would have saw that coming from a Widnes Wild team that we've got to say is improving ever so slightly week on week. So yeah, the Widnes Wild tonk the Scimitars 12-4 before we head into Christmas. So that's it then for the... No, it isn't. That's it, is it? Nope. This time around, we have fixtures in between Christmas and New Year. Whoever's idea that was needs a slap. So it wasn't to be a full Christmas period off for the Billingham Stars, the Whitley Warriors, the Blackburn Hawks or the Sheffield Scimitars. Saturday the 28th saw a packed out forum. Watched the Billingham Stars host the Whitley Warriors in League and Cup action, and it was a 4-2 victory for the Billingham Stars. A scoreline that absolutely flatters the Whitley Warriors, to be honest. The Warriors take the lead in this game with a beautiful tip goal. I think the shot comes in from Wood and it's tipped by, I want to say Ord, but I could be wrong. I've lost my notes on that one. But yeah, fantastic goal to put the Whitley Warriors ahead 1-0. But then two quick fire goals in the last minute or so of the first period put the Stars 2-1 in front. And even from going 1-0 behind, the Stars never looked in trouble. They take the points in the first bragging rights of the Tea-Tang Derby, the North East number 1. It may be only been for one night as they play again on the Sunday, but the Stars take the first encounter 4-2. And then the two games on Sunday, the Blackburn Hawks hosting probably a Sheffield Scimitars, not only just licking their wounds after a tonking off the Widnes Wild. Probably should be a bit of shell shock after getting that tonking off the Widnes Wild. And unfortunately, it was going to be another hammering. The Hawks taking the game 10-3 against the Skims on home ice. Moving into the final game of 2024 then, Sunday the 29th of December. It's at Hillhead's Ice Palace, or whatever you want to call it these days. Hillhead's Road or Hillhead's Ice Palace or Hillhead's Arena. The home arena of the Whitley Warriors. And it was more of the same for the Billingham Stars. A 4-1 victory. A game that the Stars never ever looked in trouble, truth be told. You never want to say an easy night's work, because it certainly wasn't. Mark Turnbull had to earn the victory. Obviously Warriors did create some chances. But the Stars never ever looked like losing, and always looked like they could turn it up at any point they needed to. So that's it then for 2024. So I hope you all enjoyed your 2024, and hopefully you've all got great memories from 2024. But I hope you're all just as excited for 2025. Yep, I know we're a couple of weeks in, but playing catch up. And with true hockey fashion, NAHL style, straight into it. First weekend of the new year, we have a packed house of fixtures. And on Saturday, the 4th of January, the Blackburn Hawks hosted big rivals, Deeside Dragons. Huge game. And the Hawks absolutely tank the Dragons 10-2. Hull Jets, who haven't been all that on home ice this year, get their 2025 underway with a good win over the Whitley Warriors 6-1. The Sheffield Scimitars, well, it just keeps getting from bad to worse for those guys as the Billingham Stars run riot 15-1. And in this game, I believe Ian Brown brings up his 40th goal of this season. It might have been the Warriors game, but yeah, 40 goals for the season so far for Ian Brown. We'll talk about that a bit later on. And then we move on to Leeds Knights, who hosted the Widnes Wild, who suffer a heavy defeat to the young Leeds Knights, 7-2. Oh, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. The final game of that weekend was the Sheffield Scimitars and the Billingham Stars, because obviously Sunday was, well, we'll call it a whiteout. Yep. The snow came, it delivered as it said it would. Maybe not so much in the area that I live in, Billingham. We woke up to a bit of a covering, but by the time I woke up properly, it was fully gone. But a bit more north of here and very much south of here, an absolute covering. We played carnage to the fixtures. So that was that for the first weekend of the new year. So we'll move into Saturday, the 11th of January, where the Leeds Knights did host the Widnes Wild, taking the game 7-2. And then out of nowhere, after all the beatings that the Skims have took lately, conceding the best part of 45 goals in 3 or 4 games, they take a shootout victory on home ice against the Hull Jets 5-4. Yep, you heard that right. The Sheffield Scimitars beat the Hull Jets in a shootout 5. Moving into Sunday's fixtures then, and some quite big games, probably no surprises. And it's the Billingham Stars hosting the Hull Jets. Not the best Billingham Stars performance you'll ever see. The Stars also honoured Chris Sykes before the game, who became Billingham's second all-time leading scorer. He gets a lot of shite from the morons up the road in Whitley Bay. They don't like him, but I tell you what, they would love to have him on his team. I don't care what anyone else says about it. The points the guy scored in 10, 11 years in Billingham is just ridiculous, and I don't think anyone in Whitley Bay can get close to it, to be honest, if not even remotely close. So yeah, he's turned out to be a great player for the Billingham Stars. He's been over there over 10 years now, and he's just been fantastic to watch. Moving on then, it wasn't to be back-to-back victories for the Scimitars as they went back to Blackburn and conceded another boatload, losing 14-1. The D-side Dragons had more than they probably thought they were going to handle with the Whitley Warriors, with loads of shenanigans again between those two teams. The Dragons taking the game 7-5, but many an incident happening, and we certainly will be watching out for Dops on Saturday morning while eating our breakfast. But those two teams have delivered another ding-dong of a game. It's the same players involved with the same crap going on. We've read about it all across social media. Holland on Gary Simpson again, and obviously there was talk of Holland also grabbing hold of one of the D-side coaching staff. So let's just see what happens there. It can't be good, I'm sure. So enjoy your breakfast on Saturday morning, reading what bans have been given out by Dops. And then the final game of the weekend, it was the Widnes Wild and the Solihull Barons, who were icing their shiny new player for the first time, seemingly only win by 2 goals, 7-5, in the favour of the Solihull Barons. So we'll get on to the Barons' shiny new player in a bit, but yes, he had a huge impact in this game. And it's the Barons do take all 3 points, but a much closer scoreline than many would have expected. As for the Ladler division, it is the same in the Morley. It is Cup semi-final weekend coming this weekend, although I do believe there is some league games happening as well. Looks like there's some rearranged fixtures happened here by the looks of this, so we'll certainly go through those. What I'll do is I'll go through the league games first, and then we'll talk about the cup fixtures when I go through the league tables. So on Saturday the 18th of January, Leeds Knights host the Solihull Barons, and the Nottingham Lions hold the Widnes Wild, which has turned into a very, very big game. And on Sunday the 19th of January, my birthday, so I expect lots of messages, the Nottingham Lions take on the Leeds Knights. So some big games there, especially for the teams down at the bottom. Leeds have got to start winning some games, and Widnes are winning some games. I think Nottingham are pretty safe, but you just never know if you get stuck in a rut and start going on a bit of a losing streak. But we'll jump straight into the league tables. We'll have a quick look, and we'll go into the cup games with a bit more detail. So at the top, sitting pretty, is still the Billingham Stars. They have played 25 games. They have 66 points. They scored 174 goals, which is just ridiculous. And they are heading in the right direction to retain their league title. They are, however, being chased by the Blackburn Hawks, who have played 23 games, 2 games less, and they're on 54 points. So, yeah, Blackburn were one of the teams who were playing on snow day. The Stars didn't have a game that day anyway. The Hawks were meant to play and would have probably got that little bit closer to the Stars. But unfortunately, it was snowed off. That game has been rearranged for February. So at the moment, the gap does stay at 12 points. But the Hawks do have 2 games in hand. In third place, it's the defenceless Deeside Dragons. They've also played 23 games. They're on 45 points, 9 points behind the Hawks. If I'm being honest, they are not catching the Hawks. In fourth place, it's 22 games played, which is huge because that game in hand over Deeside Dragons could play pivotal into the playoff picture. They have played 22 games. They've got the game in hand. They're 1 point behind the Deeside Dragons on 44. So a win there would help them leap the Deeside Dragons. In fifth place, it's the Hull Jets. They've played 25 games, so played quite a few games. And they are 2 points behind the Barons. But let's say the Barons have got 3 games in hand on the Jets and a game in hand, who have a game in hand on the Dragons. Sixth place, Sir Whitley Warriors. Yes, they've got 4 games in hand on the Hull Jets, and they're going to need all 4 of those games if they're going to catch them, as they currently sit 11 points behind the Hull Jets on 31 points. Seventh place, probably safe as houses, not going to move up, they ain't going to move down. You just never know. They are 7 points behind the Warriors and also 21 games played. 8 points behind the Lions in 8th place, and the final playoff spot is the Leeds Knights with 21 games played and 16 points. In 9th place, chasing them down and a whopping 5 games behind, is the Sheffield Scimitars on 12 points. And then in last, and certainly not least, with a little change of fortunes, it is the Widnes Wild. They've played 23 games. So 2 more than Leeds in the final playoff spot. And obviously they are 5 points ahead of the Widnes Wild are 5 points behind the Leeds Knights. But obviously the Knights do have a couple of games on them. So the games between those sides down at the bottom, I will include Nottingham in that as well, because that's where these teams will try and get cheap points. The likes of Leeds, Sheffield, Widnes, I can't see them beating any one of the top 6. I can't really see them beating Nottingham, to be honest, but you just never know. They're all beating each other, but if one of those can put a run together of 4 or 5 wins on the bounce against each other, they can certainly put some gap between them all. Moving on into the Morley Cup then, as I said there, the Billingham Stars had, 4 games to play in the Cup before Christmas or before the end of the year. That was Nottingham, Deeside and the 2 Whitley games. And they took maximum points from that, giving them top spot in the division, and in beating the Warriors, as both games allowed Deeside also to come in the semi-final spots. So we have the Billingham Stars and the Hull Jets in semi-final 1, and the Blackburn Hawks, host rivals, the Deeside Dragons, in semi-final 2. And I think we're going to be looking at a repeat of last year's final, where I'm sure the Billingham Stars are still smarting. So, yeah, what a huge game the Hawks Dragons can be. I know they've just played each other in the league recently, but you just know if James Witkowski turns up, plays his game, wants to put the team on his back, I don't think there's a lot the Hawks defence can do about it. Obviously, there's potential injuries now as well to the Deeside Dragons roster. We know the defence is terrible in Deeside. It ain't much better in Blackburn. But obviously Blackburn have added more firepower to the roster which we'll bring up in a little while. So then, let's move on to what's been happening around the league. So David Juranox has left the Blackburn Hawks. One of the reasons for this was stating the travel. The travel was getting a bit too much for him. He wanted to play for a team a bit closer to home. For those of you that don't know, that is the whole Jet deal hasn't yet been done. It may just be done in time for the semi-final games this week, but there is no guarantee. The big news I was going to drop on the episode last week, which turns out I couldn't fit in due to just a manic schedule last week, was the news of the Solihull Barons signing import Zachary Yokiyama, who had served his purpose down in Romford. Was it Romford? Down in Romford as injury cover. Had himself a bit of a blast there. Done himself well. Put himself in the National League window probably for next year now. I'm just not quite sure our teams are going to take a risk on Zachary Yokiyama being a full-time import. If a Brit, it's a no-brainer. He's in the National League. But as it stands, as an import, it just won't happen. That was one of the signings. I'm just checking to make sure I haven't missed anything. Nope. So moving on to the next one. Not a huge signing, but another signing nevertheless. The Deeside Dragons signed Logan Murphy on a 2-way deal with the Dundee Stars. He's an under-19. He's a 6'5" defenceman. Defenceman is what the Deeside Dragons need. I just don't think this kid is going to be the full answer. He's not going to stop the deficit that's happening, but he'll certainly be helping out in those defensive ranks the weeks he is available for the Dragons. Trying to think who else has been on the move. Oh yes, how could I forget? The Blackburn Hawks have strengthened their roster with a defence. No, of course they haven't brought a defenceman in. The thing they need most is defencemen, so they bring in 38-year-old Peter Feluciak back from the cold. Yes, he was dropped a shitty one by the Deeside Dragons when they got wind of signing Witkowski. They told him he was surplus to requirements, no longer needed, and hasn't been playing since. Obviously, he's been playing somewhere, or certainly been on the ice with somebody. The Hawks have decided to pick him up as more firepower. It's looking like that they're going to play one of the forwards back in defence, which I believe will be Pollock. So that'll be certainly interesting going forward. And then finally, the Warriors have made a couple of announcements. While talking about Elite Prospects, by the way, guys, the new Elite Prospects app is fantastic. I recommend you all to sign it and to download it. It's a great app. It's very neat, really easy to use. You can search the players that you need, search the teams that you need. You get all the information in your hand about where players have played, the kinds of stats they're up. It is a week or two behind at times, which is no bad thing for the information that you are getting, because it is hard to keep up to date. But young William Daly asked for his release from the Widnes Wild due to travel issues. I believe college and work was getting a bit much, as well as the travel. So he will also be on a 2-way with the Solway Sharks under-19s. So he'll certainly help out defensively. And they also brought back today, and they also brought Ross Douglas back today as well. So two returning players for the Warriors to add a bit of squad depth to their roster. Believe it or not, their roster on Elite Prospects isn't fully up to date. There's 1 or 2 players missing off there, so I'll have to get that sorted. But yeah, 2 new players into the Warriors, returning players for the Warriors, as when allows that they'll be playing. But it gives them a bit of depth. And that just about covers it. Not a fantastically in-depth episode this week. Just more of a quick review of everything we've missed. Back to normal next week. I've looked at the diary. There's no holiday booked in. There's no Christmas or New Year or weddings booked in. So that should be it now. It's the business end of the season. There's not many games left to go at all. So I think it's just sit back, enjoy the fixtures, and enjoy what's coming this weekend. If your team isn't playing a game this weekend and you're near to Billingham on Saturday, get yourself along. It'll be a Grey Cup semi-final versus Hull. Likewise, if you're in Hull, and you've not got nothing to do, Sunday is your home leg against Billingham, who will be the second leg of the Cup. Get yourself along to a great game. And Blackburn D-side fans, I don't think you're going to need any invites to attend your Cup series this weekend. Be two fantastic games. Let's hope they're all close. Let's hope they're all a great advert for Morley hockey, because there has been a few big scores lately. I was going to have a few rants about a few things that have happened, like talk about Yokoyama, not what the Barons need. Since Phil Mackay's gone down, Dan Mackay and Nicholas Otterson have scored an absolute boatload of points, but they've also struggled to keep the puck out the net, even with Corey Goodman coming in to the lineup. Velusiak again, I think he's not an ideal signing for Blackburn. Yes, it allows them to put one of their forwards back in defence, but at a 38-year-old forward for a club that preaches development, doesn't really sing too much development to me. Like I say, a lot of older guys have come into the roster this year, kind of telling me that they're in very much win now mode and not developing that young talent that they signed in the summer. Yeah, it's quite a big roster that they've got now in Blackburn, carrying 15 forwards, 7 D-men, 3 goalies. But the players that they've brought in recently, like I say, Velusiak's 38, McKinney 33, Charnock 29, doesn't really fall into that line of development that they were initially talking about. Obviously, they brought in guys like Liam High, Noah Karanian, who's now injured. I think he's out for the season. I'm told. Billy Thomas. They brought in Dara Sporforth. So all these kids that they brought in the summertime. Kane Morin's come in recently since he's turned 16. Guys that they've brought in and just kind of like put the development thing on the back burner. Obviously, the development of Josh Crawley has been exceptional. The kid from, I think he's played a few. I think is it the Bradford and Manchester Storm Academy. No, just all Storm Academy and Alti Aces. Is now getting a sniff of National League, and you wonder if that taste for that tournament, for that level of hockey, will become something that he wants more permanent. It will only be a matter of time. Obviously, he's had a sniff of Elite League with the Manchester Storm as well. So yeah, it's a lot of decisions to be made in Blackburn, I think, on the basis of what they've signed recently, like their latest signings. Obviously, if I brought up the game sheet from when they first played Stars at the beginning of the season, the roster looks nothing like it did in the 9-0 loss. But it's the way they've chosen to go. Again, haven't really strengthened defence. The defence is still what it is. Still doesn't give me nightmares. But yeah, a very great team going forward. So it'll be certainly interesting to see how they go over the next 12 months and for the remainder of this season as well. So any questions, fire them over Twitter, Facebook. It will be back to normal weekly episodes from next week, so we can talk about the Cup semi-finals and see who's lined up for the Cup. Maybe get a guest on. Maybe we'll talk to Ben from Zero Pucks Covered and see what's going on in the south, see what we can expect for playoff weekend, as those tickets are now on sale and sold very, very well, I might add. I had a quick look through the blocks to see how many tickets had gone, and it's had a great first day or two of sales as the Steel City Showdown. So yeah, we might talk about that a little bit more, see what we can expect, see who's going to be coming up from the south. So maybe a chat with Ben will be in line. If not next week, it'll certainly be coming soon enough. But yeah, any questions, anything you want to talk about? Do you want to see Graham back on the channel as well? Would you want Graham back on here permanently? Do you think it would work better as a twosome? Just give me a shout. It's sticktothepod@gmail.com. Give me a message on the Facebook or Twitter channels. So yeah, all your feedback, all your anything does help. Your likes, your shares, your subscribing, all helps the channel massively with where things work and the way it turns up in your adverts and things like that on YouTube and on Facebook. It's just the way the technology works. So like, subscribe, please share. It is much appreciated. Back to normal next week. Just a quick rundown of things so far, and I'll speak to you all again